We've got so many great questions today. The main one is on nutmeg. Thanks for joining us today on Questions and Answers with James Townsend and Son. So all of today's questions come from the most recent cooking episode we did where we made the pendants. It was the experimental food recipe. So here's a question. It came in from Alec Guitars. And the question is, what song is playing in the background? All the music that we use that we've used in the past couple of years comes from Rick and Hillary Wagner. The name of the group is Jim's Red Pants. That particular tune is called Donnie's Dance, and it's on the Old Bones and Bailiwick CD. We do have all their CDs on our website. I'll put a link down in the description section of this video. Here's a good comment. It's from Landon Wolf. He says, I would like to see more of these types of videos. Maybe change the title to something that people may type into YouTube, like Bizarre 16th Century Foods. Seems like a good series. Thanks, Landon. I don't know if we'll be doing a lot more like this, but maybe we'll try. Here's a good question that came in from David Garrison. And the question is, great video, but sweet suet, what does it consist of? Now, the idea here most likely is a reference to sweet versus sour. And usually sour in that context would mean old or has maybe gone off. Isn't flavorful anymore, has gone sour, basically. So sometimes you'll see references to sweet milk, and that really just means fresh milk. In this reference, it probably means fresh suet or freshly rendered suet, something that doesn't have any kind of flavor to it. This comment came in from, I think it's Helgrenzi. I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce it. My girlfriend has informed me that sack is a type of mead. This should sweeten the cakes a bit, also increasing the sack equally with cream instead of all cream would add flavor and more sweetness. Well, there is a type of mead called sack mead. Even in the 18th century and earlier, there was sack mead. That was mead that was sack-like. But in this circumstance, the sack that was used in this recipe is sack wine, which is a fortified, sweetened wine. It's not sack mead, it's just sack. Now, when we did add in this recipe, when we did the video, we kind of edited out us continuing to add things in. So we did actually add more wine along with the cream. It wasn't just all cream as we added ingredients in. And that kind of connects with the rest. A couple more comments. Seamus 6387 says, doesn't look bad. I would have added more sack. Well, we did. Don't worry. We added more sack. In fact, if you watch the episode over again, Michael even says when we're tasting them that he can't taste the sack. And that's kind of surprised us because we had added so much as we were going along. And Keith Eckensviller says, hey, John, I'd love to try this recipe. Just how much milk and cream did you actually use? Also, a rough estimate of how much suet you put in would be great, too. We were adding the cream and the sack and milk all kind of a little bit at a time, so I have no idea how much we ended up using. We weren't doing a very good experiment in that fashion because we weren't recording what we were doing beyond on the video itself. So I would say we were probably with at least a pint of milk/cream. I would probably start adding adding milk, not just cream. And we probably had at least a cup of sack wine in there by the time we were done. And the suet, we put in, I think, about 4 ounces of grated suet when we actually mixed the batter up. I'm not sure how important that really was to the recipe, though. Here's one from the Chia Pet. When it reads, add 8 eggs, cast away the whites, or 5 thereof, were 3 egg whites to be kept? Exactly. It's so often in these 18th century and earlier recipes where they will say to add eggs and then cast away a certain number of whites. It's very common for them to say add 8 eggs, cast away 3 of the whites. So they want it to be with eggs, but a little more rich, more of the yolk in there. You almost never find a recipe where it says add yolks. Yolks isn't something they necessarily referred to. They would say eggs, and then they would subtract the whites. It's a very common thing. So in this case, 8 eggs minus 5 whites gives you 3 whites. And here is an interesting comment. It's from Gabos Iron Fist. This is really the kind of the heart of this Q&A session. I'm glad it was mentioned. It lets me know I'm not alone in thinking, what the devil is it with 17th century obsession with nutmeg? They nutmeg all things. Why? That's not necessarily an easy easy question to answer. Someone that commented below that actually gave a link and talked about, apparently the link talks about the idea that nutmeg was a status symbol, that it was expensive, and so that's why people used it. I'm not sure exactly. That may have been the start of the original reason why nutmeg gets popular, but it stays popular for a long time. It gets introduced into English cookery in the 14th or 15th century, and in the 16th and 17th century, it seems like really almost every recipe does use nutmeg. It's kind of funny. It's like, well, start with nutmeg, and now what else do we need? And it's important. Nutmeg is a really important spice in the time period. It almost starts wars between these different trading partners, and the fact that it only comes from certain regions, and so there's a lot about nutmeg. More about nutmeg. I thought this was really funny. There are many herbals in the 16th and 17th century, and Gerard has an herbal, and he talks about nutmeg and how and the health benefits. So here's what Gerard says. The nutmeg is good against freckles in the face. It quickeneth the sight. It strengthens the belly and the feeble liver. It taketh away swelling in the spleen, and stayeth the last, breaketh wind, and is good against all cold diseases in the body. So why wouldn't you want to add that to your food? I mean, hey, it's good for everything, right? It even strengthens your spleen. So I would definitely use nutmeg in just about everything. Here's my last question, and actually it's a question for you. It's from Andre Gosweiler. He says, do you have a Patreon account? I would support this. So I haven't done a lot of research into Patreon, but the research that I've done, if you're not familiar, Patreon is a site where you can give money to help support artists and projects. But part of the way it works usually is that a bonus is given to the people that do support whatever the project happens to be. My question to you would be, if you were a supporter, what kind of bonuses would you find most interesting? So there you go. If you can give me an idea there, maybe I'll play around with the idea. Make sure to leave any suggestions you've got down in the comments below. Also, if you've got other information about the questions that we covered today, the comment section is a place where you can respond there. If you've got more information, it's great. I love everybody answering other people's questions. That's really so helpful, and the community here on the channel is amazing. I really want to thank everyone for your incredibly good comments, your questions, your answers to questions, and your great support and encouragement. It is amazing what we've got here, and you're part of it. Thank you so much for that, and thanks for watching. If you're a new viewer and you haven't subscribed, press the subscribe button up here. That'll take you to a spot where you can subscribe. I want to thank everyone for watching.